Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. It is October the 27th. Today is Thursday. This week has been flying by. I pray this week has allowed you to, grow and develop and design and redesign whatever it is that you have been working on or working towards. Um, if you haven't achieved it yet, keep working on it. Trust me, it's coming. It's going to develop you, hopefully in a positive way, because things happen. Um, but it's how we respond to those things when it happen is what we really need to pay attention to the most. This sound is like loud. What we really need to pay attention to most. That's how I see it. There's things that I go through like everybody else. Nothing or no one is exempt, from it. The adversity is always going to be there, and it's always going to find its way into our lives. And adversity is kind of almost like a parasite to some, because they allow it to really just take over every thought and every fabric of their being when it comes to adversity. I forgot to put the caption up, so let me go ahead and drop that caption right quick. So, good morning. Like always, I'll say good morning to you. I'm thankful for you being here. I pray that your morning continues to have a great and mighty day for you. So just thank you for being here like always. So everybody that's watching on Facebook and watching on YouTube, and those who listen to it on the replay on the podcast distribution, I say I thank you like always. Peace. Good morning, Miss Queenie. Glad to have you back. Today we're talking about adversity. And as you can see, the question that's right here, the question that is proposed right here is, how do you see adversity? Like, how do you see it? Like, do you see it as lessons? Do you see it as pains, hurts, whatever it is? However you define it is how you define it. But how you respond to it is how you respond to it. That's what we're really going to be focusing and communicating about today. Is what is your adversity response? So before we really jump 2 feet into it, just go ahead and take this live and share it. Share it in a Facebook group, those that that need to be touched and blessed or communicated about when we're here in this space talking about adversities. And once you already share that live, just go ahead and put the word done, just so we know that it's done. I'm just saying it's done. All right, so let's go ahead and jump and let's communicate about adversity. Because as I was going through this morning's lesson plan about the adversity, I'll just be transparent. Like, what I was really going to talk about today was I'm all in. Because a lot of times, a lot of us are not all in. We may be in it, but we're not all in it. And that's what I originally was going to communicate about. But then as I was running this morning, this had came up, like the adversity. Because we all face it. And we all know what adversity is, and we all communicate differently in how we respond to our natural adversities in our lives. And that's where we say, okay, this is where I am. I acknowledge where I am. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to say that again. This is where I am. I acknowledge where I am. Now, what am I going to do? That's when we take on the responsibilities of our adversities. So let's go ahead and jump. All right. So for everybody that's been here before, those who have not, we're going to go through definitions of words, etymologies of words. I'm going to give you inversions, whether it's white over red or red over white. If I say white over red, pay attention to the words that are only in white. If I say red over white, pay attention to the words that are only in red. So let's go ahead. Adversity. The first definition of adversity is a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. A state of interest of serious or continued difficulties or misfortune. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the inversion of red over white. It is a state or instance of misfortune. So why did I highlight this? Because yesterday we talked about what was yesterday's lessons about? What was it about? I gotta go back. I'll be going through so much. Um, no, I did the replay on what we did when the technology went out. Talk yourself into it. All right, that's it. We talked about talking yourself into it, and in one of the definitions of talking yourself into it is talking about the state. So having the state or instance of misfortune, that mean state meaning a state of mind, like where are you at subconsciously, like where are you at mentally, where are you at spiritually? Because adversities can attack your spiritual being, or adversities can attack or pierce your emotional being, just like adversity can attack your financial, adversity can attack your social, it can attack all of those things. But we're really focusing on the state of the spiritual being, or the state of your mental mindset, because it is a instance of misfortune. That mean it doesn't happen always. That mean it happens. But when you find yourself in that misfortunate place in your life, understand that it is a state. That means it's something that you need to pay attention to and respond to, so you are covered, because it's going to happen again. So now when you look at the second definition of adversity, it says adverse or unfavorable fortune or fate. Because the inversion that I really want you to pay attention to is red over white, is unfavorable fate. So why in the world would I want to highlight unfavorable fate? Because it's going to happen. Adversities are going to happen. It is a unfavorable fate. Say unfavorable fate. And the reason why I want you to say unfavorable fate is because no matter what you do, no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what year or what month it is an unfavorable fate. It is going to happen. A lot of times adversities that we face, a lot of times it's in our mind, right? Sometimes the most difficulty is how we think and how we respond. It is unfavorable. It is an unfavorable fate, because the adversities that we deal with, it is how, not just how we respond, but how we relate to what is going on, or what happens in that moment, what happens in our life after the moment. A lot of times the strong and the hardest part is our decision-making process when we find ourselves dealing with the adversities. And the third definition is going into the etymology of it, which is the origin, which was weird to me. Really, but not really, but really. So the etymology, or the origin of adversity, it says it's Middle English from Old French, adversite, or from Latin, aversitas. If I'm saying it wrong, cool. Write it in the comment and correct me. I don't care. Or from advertere, which means turn towards. Right? It's weird. Like the origin of adversity mean turn toward. And I was sitting there like, how could this word be, or have an origin of turn towards? Because a lot of times in our adversities, it makes us seem like we need to turn away. That's like backwards, and it and it baffled me, and it really just threw me for a loop. Peace. Good morning, um, Miss Myrick and Miss Morton. Now it really just threw me for a loop because it was like, how in the world can the word adversity have an origin that mean turns toward, when a lot of times we're taught or we're communicated to about turning away from it or running away from it or or whatever. But the origin mean turns toward. When are we really going to turn toward our adversities and look at it for what it is and deal with it for what it is in that time, in that moment? Because if the origin means turn towards it, when are we going to do it? It's not just you. It's not just me. A lot of times it's a lot of us. Like, did you know that the origin of the word adversity mean turn towards? If you did, say you did. Put it in the chat. That means I must be doing something good because I'm adding on to somebody else's vocabulary. Tapping into the vernacular to say adversity means turns toward, and turning towards your adversity. That means that it's time to get to work. I'm not afraid of the wall anymore. I'm not afraid of the ditch anymore. I'm not afraid of the trials, nor am I afraid of the tribulations, because adversity means turn towards it. So therefore, I am fixed and strong enough to face this adversity because I'm just doing what the origin states, which is to turn towards it. When are you going to commit yourself to turning towards your adversities? Because it's easy to run away from an adversary, but it's not as easy as it is to remember or to even know or acknowledge that the adversity means turns towards it. Because if you can turn towards your adversity, you can turn towards the adversary and approach it the same way with the same strength as it did when you acknowledged in that state of mind, in that moment, that you had to turn towards it in order for you to defeat it. This etymology just took me into a space like, well, I will rephrase that. It took me into a state. That's what I'm going to say now. I'm in a certain state right now. Like a state, like where are you at mentally? Like where are you at spiritually? Like where are you at in this moment? So reading this etymology, it just put me in a different state. And it made me think, like, how many times did, like in the beginning, like not right now, I kind of grew past that, even though a lot of times I still face it. But remember when in your life where you used to run away from adversity and you were afraid, or you were had fear when you were dealing with uh, adversaries in your life, and the things that you found yourself just at a state of turmoil. What if you turned towards it a long time ago? What if you turned towards it to where you're facing that fear, or you found yourself in that moment to where I'm no longer going to be compromised by my fear, but I'm going to convert my fear into my fortune? Because if I don't turn my fear into my fortune, then it's going to become what? A misfortune. Don't miss that. Because a lot of times our misfortune comes from our fears. Don't be afraid of the adversity, because it is defined and rooted in turning towards it. Like, we got to face the adversity regardless of what it is. There's going to be some battles we're not going to win. right? That's just being honest and transparent. There's gonna be some times we gonna feel beat up, right? And no matter how much we get beat up and get beat down, we won't let it. We're gonna beat it out. We're going to face it. We're going to turn towards it. And in this deep dive, I remember Martin Luther King, he said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in the time of challenges and misfortune. In the times of challenges and controversy. We can flip it to misfortune. We can flip that to uh, adversities or adversaries, whichever one. Like, what are you going to do when you're faced with that wall? What are you doing when you're faced with the things that you're dealing with? Because that's where your strength is. Your strength is in your response. Your strength is in your commitment. Your strength is when you're feeling that discomfort feeling. Is what do you do when that feeling takes place that's going to make you stronger the next time it comes? Because remember, the adversities is an unfavorable fate. It is going to happen. It is unfavorable. Yes. Why? Because it's not going to feel good. It's not going to make you feel good. But when it's really going to make you feel good, when you change how you see it. Adversity is a gift. Like, what do you mean adversity is a gift? It is. It depends on how you look at it. Now, adversity is a gift of opportunity that pushes you to change your roadmap. I'm going to say that again because I want you to pay attention to it, and I want you to understand that, because adversity is a gift of opportunity that pushes you to change your roadmap. You don't have to continue to go down this road. When you see and you face and you turn towards that adversity, you're turning those obstacles into opportunities. So it pushes you to change your roadmap, because our natural GPS will only be altered when we find ourselves off course. Like it says, when you're in your car, rerouting. And adversity will put you to the point to where rerouting takes over. And there's nothing wrong with rerouting as long as you acknowledge that the route that you're on need to be taken. As long as you acknowledge what it is going to happen. We're routed into our blessings from our lessons because we are prepared to face and endure the adversities more confidently, because we know what the road looks like. We was already on that road before. When we hit that wall, we're either going to do what? Bust through it. We're going to go around it. We're going to go over it. Sometimes we may feel like we need to dig deep and go under it. Whatever it is, we know what the adversity is, and we're running towards it. We're not running from it anymore. Because understand this, adversity is the inevitable. It is going to happen. It is that unfavorable fate. But what we do or how we choose to respond to it when we are faced with it will determine how we handle it when we see it again. Sometimes we may have to reframe adversity as a challenge. Like, I accept the challenge. Remember, like that old, what was that? I think it was the Cosby Show. Yeah, it was the Cosby Show. Like, I'm showing my age. The Cosby Show, when him and that old dude was, like, I don't know if they was tap dancing, and it was like, challenge. It's like, that's like what we got to do when we're faced the adversity. I don't care if you say it out loud or you say it inside of yourself or you say it inside of your mind. Challenge. Challenge accepted. Adversity. Challenge is accepted. I'm reframing the way that I see my adversity as a challenge. Because when people see adversity as a threat, don't you know it makes you feel a certain way? There's an emotional baggage that you carry when you look at the adversity as a threat, while others are able to view it as a challenge. Because with a challenge response, what happens is that you begin to develop, additional energy. Your heart rate goes up, your adrenaline begins to pump. We all know what that feeling feels like. But when you begin to look at it and convert and reframe the adversities as a challenge, you feel focused, right? You feel a lot more focused instead of feeling fearful, because you begin to release like different ratios of hormones, or that dopamine kicks in, and now you're like, okay, I'm focused. I see where the shortcomings are or were. I see what is making me feel like when I'm in this room. I'm seeing what it makes me, how my state of mind has changed and has been altered when I'm in places that I know that I'm not comfortable in. I'm busting out of that uncomfortable state, because I'm looking at what this challenge is and I'm challenging the challenge. Because when we look at it as a challenge, it is a lot easier of us, or for us, to access our mental and physical resources, accessing our mental capacity. Like, I've been here before, I'm strong, I'm good. So let me tap into that capital that I have, that intellectual capital, that spiritual capital that I have access to. We all have access to our capital, but when are we going to tap into the capital that we have, that mental state of mind that's going to push us in a direction that is going to be beneficial for the future you? Like we spoke about yesterday, your future you will be dictated by what you do to the present you right now. Because if we think about it, more of a challenge and less than a threat, we may have less depressed feelings or anxieties about it, because we begin to develop higher levels of energy in our work performance, and our confidence will begin to grow after that, because we have knowledge that we have shifted our mindset. And when we had shifted our mindset, what happens? The shift in our mindset have re-tilled the topsoil, and we're planting new seeds because we want exponential growth. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the adversity anymore, because adversity could bring about fear. Adversity could bring about turmoil. Adversity can push you so deep in the dirt and so deep in the soil that only thing you have left to do is to replant your seed, dig in, because the only direction that you have to go when you plant that seed is up. Then the harvest becomes that much more bountiful, because now the fruit that it bears is based on what seed that you plant. Don't run away from your fears and expect the harvest to be bountiful. It's like your mental state is weighing on you and it's pressing on you, and you want to just get out and to do something different. It's not going to work, because it's causing your stressors not to allow you, and it's preventing you to grow. All right, I'm done. Look at Miss Queenie. She said, "What's in your garden?" We talked about that. What's in your garden? I think what's in your garden probably was the dopest one I done. I'm just saying. Or 2 2 degrees environment. Was it 2% environment? Like 2% environment is the first 2% of your day, is the first 28 minutes of your day. Like, what are you doing in your 2% of the environment when you wake up in the morning? Your first 28 minutes of your day is important, because how you use those first 28 minutes of your day could be how you energize the rest of your day. Y'all might need to go back and find that one. Yeah, I think that's it. But I definitely appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Queenie. Miss J Hope, peace. How you doing? What she say about adversity? Miss J Hope says, I see adversity as a character builder, a big problem uh that meant a solution. Big energy. Okay, I see that. Adversity is your garden. Tend to it. Look at that. Look at Miss Queenie dropping. Adversity is in your garden. Tend to it. I appreciate that, especially those life lessons that we can use to better ourselves going forward. Sometimes that's who we need to look at, like looking in the mirror, like you're strong. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're strong, because a lot of times it's easy for everything else to make us feel like we're not so strong. But when are we going to be strong in a moment? Because remember, the origin of what? The origin of adversity, it says what? Turn towards. Turn towards. I will never forget that. The origin of adversity means to turn towards. That's bananas. So let's say it to ourselves. I will no longer run away from adversity. I will no longer run away from adversity. My adversity has taught me to run towards it. That's just definition. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing philosophical about it. That's just definition. If the root word and the origin of the word and etymology of the word is to turn towards, then why don't we just do that? Right? It's there. Why don't we just do that? Turn towards your adversity and allow those challenges to change you ultimately. All right, that's enough. Man, I appreciate y'all 100%. I ain't gonna lie, podcasting sometimes gets hard, gets challenging, but you got to look past the challenge of it, because there are gifts, there are jewels, just like Miss Queenie had learned about the garden. There are jewels when you plant seeds, and when you plant those seeds, you're just doing ultimately what is required of you to do based off what was your mission. Like, I'm just on mission right now. So y'all be blessed. And I see you tomorrow here at Consistency is Currency, a morning podcast of choice. And subscribe to the channel too. Go to YouTube, follow on YouTube. Go to the Consistency is Currency Facebook page, follow it on Facebook. And go to, whether it's Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Podbean, all of those different distributions. Follow it on one of those. And before I go, what I want to learn from you is, what were your takeaways? Go ahead and put your takeaways in the chat, because I want to learn from you just as well as you're able to tap into my mindset in the morning. But y'all be blessed for the rest of the day. Peace.